Hey guys, how you doing? It's Qsanto, and today we're starting a new series where I pick 10 cards from each faction that I think are absolutely necessary for you to craft if you're a new player. But before we get into the specific factions, we're going to talk about neutral cards. What are they? Well, neutral cards are cards that don't belong to any specific faction, therefore they could be played in any sort of deck. Although it's a little bit difficult to craft a deck based on neutral cards alone, they're really good supplementary cards to any deck, assuming that you're not running a devotion deck. So let's get into it, and I'll explain the 10 that I think are the best right now. So for number 1, we have Oneiromancy. It's a spell card with an echo status. Echo meaning at the beginning of the round, move this card from the graveyard to the top of the owner's deck and give it doomed. Therefore, it allows you to play it twice throughout the entire game. The effect of this card is to be able to play any card from your deck. So you can imagine how you're given 2 opportunities to get key cards from your deck in order to win a round. It's a very powerful card that I think anybody should have, whether they're a beginner or if they make it to pro rank and they're playing at the highest level in the game. And for number 2, Korathi Heatwave. It allows you to banish a unit or artifact. What banish means is the ability to remove the unit or artifact from the game. It doesn't count as being destroyed, it simply just removes it from the game. This is very powerful because a lot of people in this current season are playing very top heavy and they're playing very greedy, so they're boosting things beyond control that we can't normally remove. This card is the easiest way to remove that unit, or if the opponent decides to play into any sort of scenario like the Haunt or Masquerade or Passiflora, you have an answer to that with this card. So it's definitely important at any level to have Korathi Heatwave in your deck with the current meta. And for 3, we have Geralt Yrden. This is one of my favorite cards, and I still use it in a lot of my deck guides that you might have seen, such as the Monsters one. Now, with Deploy, we have the ability to reset the power of all units on a row. When we're playing against a lot of swarms and a lot of decks that are just boosting units beyond control, this is a really good way to finish the game, right? You just basically put it down and you reset everything back to its regular status. And when they spent the whole long round trying to get everything big and boosted, well, we just took that away from them, really. So I definitely recommend going with Geralt Yrden, whether you're at a beginner stage or whether you're playing in pro rank. And for number 4, we have Portal. What I like about Portal is its ability to do deck thinning as well as add 2 cards to the game when you need them. So this is really good when you're playing any sort of crime deck or assimilate type deck or even some of the Monster Thrive decks. You can get very creative with it. I think it's a great value if you're putting engines on the board that are summoning on both sides. Now, I would recommend crafting this one because it's not expensive to craft, being only 200 scraps. So if you're finding it, difficult to get the resources, it's a great buy, and it allows you to get ahead of your opponent and increase the tempo of the round. And for number 5, we have Bekker's Rockslide. It's a simple card. You damage a unit by 8. It doesn't get simpler than that. What I like about it is that a lot of engines get out of control. This one has a bit more of a ceiling beyond just a regular 5-point removal card. So it's especially good against Scoia'tael right now, a lot of the monster decks, and just anything that can really get the boost going quickly. So I definitely recommend Bekker's Rockslide as an addition to any deck. You really can't go wrong with it. And for number 6, it's not seen as common in the current season. However, Matta is one of my favorite neutral cards because it allows you to essentially draw the highest provision cost card from your deck. In exchange, the opponent gets to draw their lowest provision card. When you're playing this one, you have to make sure that both players don't have 10 cards in hand and the opponent hasn't passed yet in order to use it. But it's a really good way to get your big playmaker in your hand if you don't have it in late round or even at the beginning of the game if you want to get things started quickly. This would be a good recommendation for someone who wants to save a little bit and maybe not run into Oneiromancy and still have a card with a body of 6 points. And for number 7, we have Lambert Swordmaster. It's a great card because we're playing against so many swarms lately. A swarm is when people fill the board with a bunch of units at a low power. Generally, the swarm units will all be the same type of unit, so this really works out great when we have a deployability of being able to damage an enemy unit and all of its copies by 2. This especially works against Symbiosis decks when they have the Treants that are spawned, Congregate when they have the Fireswarm Zealot spawned, a lot of monster decks if they have rats or bugs spawn, so it's a really good addition to any deck and you can't go wrong with this one. And for number 8, we have Triss Telekinesis. On deploy, it creates and plays a bronze special card from either player's starting deck. This is great for decks that revolve around special cards, or your swarm deck that has a boost all type card that you want to run through a second time. It's a great thing to use in any build, really. You can't go wrong with it. And for number 9, we have Ciri Nova. On deploy, if your starting deck does not have any cards with a provision cost of 10 or more, gain resilience, shield, and veil. So resilience is a status that allows the unit to remain on the battlefield at the end of a round, then it disappears. So basically what this means is if you play this in round 1 or round 2, you'll be able to carry the card over into the next round. What's great about it is that we have 8 carryover, so it allows for a strong push into the following round. The shield status blocks an instance of damage dealt to it, so if they try to damage this unit, no matter how much they try to damage it by, the unit will remain at 8 power and the shield will just break on the first damage that it has. And Veil status prevents the unit from getting any other status, so no one can lock it, poison it, or remove it through those means, which is great. So for starting players who don't have a lot of resources, maybe they don't have a lot of hero cards, this is a great addition because it's very effective in the 9 provision range, and it fits well into most starter deck schemes. And for number 10, we have Surrender. Remove 2 armor from all units on a row and damage them by 2. This is a great answer to any sort of swarm deck that you're seeing. It's a little bit of a change from Lambert. It's a little bit lower provision, so it's easier to fit in most decks. But I've been seeing a lot of this, and I've been testing it out for myself, and it's been great because it can deal for a ton of damage and actually be considered a last play of the game if you need to. So I definitely recommend Surrender opposed to what I would normally see being a Lacerate before, because this one gets through the armor as well. So there you have it, guys. These are 10 neutral cards that I think can fit in any single deck. If you're having any sort of questions about where to fit them in, or how to fit them in, or if you just want me to take a look at your deck and find ways to incorporate these cards, drop a comment, let me know, send me a link to your deck, and I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. And don't forget to follow me on Twitch. The link is also in the description. This is where I come out with all my deck guides, ideas for the content that we're doing in the YouTube videos, and much more. So thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.